Good morning on this wonderful Monday morning. I am going to be making my husband some dinner, and I thought maybe this would be a recipe that you might be interested in. I haven't been making a whole lot of dinners inside. Most of the stuff that we've been doing have been kind of like more like salads and grilling outside, but kind of overcast today. Thinking that it's gonna rain. If it doesn't, I'm gonna have to go out and I'm gonna have to water my plants, that's for sure. But I thought maybe you would like this, because this is made with shrimp, but it's made with a sweet chili Thai sauce. I thought that was kind of going to be kind of good. What do you think? Anyways, I'll talk to you just a little bit as I get everything set up. Well, the recipe that I want to make is going to be a little bit harder for me because I don't have any sweet chili Thai sauce like they called for. So I'm going to be making even the sauce. So I'm making a chili sauce, and then I'm going to make the sauce that the chili sauce goes into, and yeah, but it's very easy. So hey, you know, I'd rather make my own stuff like this. So if you want to know how to make your own chili sauce, and this particular one is supposed to be Thai, there is nothing in here that says Thai, but okay, let's get started. Okay, so in order to make our sweet chili Thai sauce, we are going to need 1 cup of water. We are going to need 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. It calls for a cup of sugar. I'm using, as you can see, a little under a cup of sugar because that just seemed like a lot of sugar to me. Garlic powder, just a 1/4 teaspoon. We are going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of some crushed red pepper. Yeah, and I kind of heat that, but my husband likes it with a bit of a bite. So. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this over to the stove. And this is also actually going to take 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, but we're going to take this over to the stove, and that's when I'll start to add that. Okay, so this is supposed to be turned on to a high heat. I have mine more on to a medium high. And we are just going to get this nice and warm and bring it just to a boil, and then stir in our cornstarch. And I will not bore you with this, so I'll come back when we're ready to do that part. Now you add it. But all we're going to do with this is we're just going to let this simmer on low, let this thicken up, and then I'm just going to remove it from the heat and let it cool down. And I will put it in a jar and store it in my refrigerator so that I have some nice sweet Thai chili sauce. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make the sauce for the shrimp. And it's 1/3 of a cup of that Thai sauce that I made. And what's left fit into this nice mason jar. So I will go ahead when that's a little more cool and stick that in the fridge. But it's 1/3 of a cup of that, and we are going to use a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, a teaspoon of honey, and then we're going to use a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. We will just mix this up, and this is what we are going to toss our cooked shrimp in when it's done. I think a whisk will work better. Yep, and we'll just get that nice and smooth and just set this aside, and we will get our shrimp ready. So all we need is 6 tablespoons of a gluten-free flour. I just happen to use the Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour. and some cornstarch. 6 tablespoons of cornstarch, 6 tablespoons of the baking flour, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Mix it all together, and that is all set. Then we're going to just take 2 eggs and beat them very well. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it a little bit different. First, what we're going to do is we're going to take our shrimp and we are going to coat our shrimp into the flour. From the flour, we'll put it into the egg. From the egg, we'll go back to the flour. And we will just continue doing that. And then I'll take you over to the stove and we will fry them up. Okay, I believe our oil is hot, so I'm just going to go ahead and put in a few of these shrimp. And it's best to do it in small batches like this. That's why I only have a few. Just makes it a lot easier. We are just going to fry it in this oil for a couple minutes on one side and then a couple minutes on the other side, and we will drain it onto the paper towel. Put you back when I'm ready for that. Okay. So we're just going to drain these on the paper towel here, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some more in. And we will just continue this process until they're all done. And I will show you what that looks like when it's all done. Well, here is our dinner. This is just a plate of fresh garden greens and some lettuce with some cherry tomatoes. And this is our sauce that we made with the chai chili sauce. And this is our shrimp that has been cooked. So all I'm going to do is toss the shrimp in this. And then we'll just set it on the bed of lettuce. Yeah, it's so much easier using your fingers, isn't it? And this completes my husband's dinner. Then I'm going to put just a few sprinkles of fresh cut up chive. And there you have it. For today's devotion, I am going to be reading from John chapter 1, verse 40. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the 2 who heard John and followed him. You know, someone once asked a famous conductor what he thought was the most difficult instrument in the orchestra to play. And without hesitating, he said, second fiddle. Have you ever had that role? Perhaps you were a first runner-up to a scholarship, or perhaps you are a second or third child in a family of overachievers. If so, you know what it means to play second fiddle. Andrew knew what it was like to be second fiddle too. His brother was Simon Peter, the big, bold, bigger than life fisherman disciple whose life is scattered throughout the pages of the gospel. Andrew was in Peter's shadow, but he was reliable, consistent, and humble. His agenda was simply to do the work of Jesus, and it didn't matter to him who got credit for it. He brought his brother Peter to Christ. He brought others as well. But as far as we know, he never preached a sermon. or led a revival meeting. He was strictly a behind-the-scenes guy. It was Peter who stood and preached, and 3,000 people came to Christ. But do you know how many Andrew won that day? Andrew won 3,001, because it was Andrew who first won Peter. He went home and told his big brother, "I have met a man I want to follow, and you should meet him too." And based on Andrew's recommendation, Peter went to see Jesus. So every time Peter stood and wooed great throngs of people to the Lord, Andrew had a part in that work. Second fiddle, you see, is a very important instrument in God's orchestra. So with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And whenever you feel like you're playing second fiddle, remember, it is a very important role to play. God bless, and I will talk to you tomorrow.